This video is brought to you by Arma, who provides top quality supplements to athletes of all kinds. Riders like Nick Way, Chad Reed, Jeremy McGrath use them for pre, during, and post-activity applications. Be sure to head to armasport.com and use the code RACERX. That's RACERX, no spaces, for 20% off your first order.
Hey everybody, what's up? I am Kris Keefer. This is RacerXOnline.com, RacerX Films. This is Kenny Day.
Yep, Kenny Day. I'm with Alpinestars.
He is my test guy today. I thought smaller guy, bigger guy, not as old, real old. 2021 KTM 250 SXF. If you guys watched the 450 video, same changes. KTM and WP did a lot of work to the suspension. Of course, still an AER fork, which means air fork, if you guys are new to this whole moto thing. And of course, SKF linkage seals, less friction, lots of changes inside internally. Of course, different oil bypass, different bump rubber.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And different air pressure settings, different valving. I can't talk about a factory edition because KTM doesn't make a 250 factory edition. They used to, and actually they have one in Europe. For some reason, we don't get them here in America, which is weird. So I get some emails saying, hey, I have a factory edition 250. And I'm like, huh? We don't get those. So unfortunately, we don't get that here in America, but I think we may see a change coming soon. Didn't hear that from me. Another small change KTM made is a connecting rod bushing, a little bit different. The shift star is a little bit different for durability. And if you guys are familiar, it's always hard to get a 250 SXF into neutral. You're coming in the pit, you can't find it unless you turn the engine off. So a little bit different there. I can actually get it into neutral, not on the track, but in the pits, which is a good thing. And of course, BNGs, a little bit more orange, rear fender, a little bit more orange in the shroud, but otherwise, she's about the same. However, I haven't been a 250 guy myself because I always want more power. I want more power. I had so much fun on this thing, but before I get into it, because I could talk 10 minutes about it, I want to hand it over to Kenny because he's more the 250 type, I think. You have that build. So I'm just going to hand this mic to you. Tell me about the engine, the suspension, how you felt on this bike.
Correct. So it's actually been about 2 years since I've ridden the 250F. I've been riding a Husky 450. So today, the minute I got on this, I honestly fell in love. Initially, power blew me away. It actually never size off. You can just rev this bike forever. And it rolls on like a 450. So even in second gear, out of some turns that I would stop in and just try to get out of the rut, I could, and immediately I could get on the gas and just it would go forever. So there was a few times I had to kind of like get myself to remember that I'm on a 250F because I was lugging it around like a 450. But so the engine extremely impressive. Suspension right off the bat was a little soft. The ruts today were deep here at Paris. And they were long, so I had some issues with getting into the ruts and just being a little too far down in the stroke and wanting to come out. So came back and talked to the WP guys, and we basically added more pressure to the forks. Standard is 10.5 bar. I went to 10.7, and then I went 1 3/4 turns out on the high speed, which just basically raised the bike up a little bit in the rear so I wasn't sinking so far down into the ruts. After doing that, yeah, the bike was phenomenal. I never wanted to get off this thing today, and then even Chris here jumped on it and was going pretty fast.
Funny thing was I rode the 450 first today, and it's basically a pro day here at Paris Raceway. Fox Raceway was closed. It's an off weekend from the Nationals, so a lot of the guys came here today. It was like 20 dudes at a National. So the track was rough and deep, and it's clay-based here. I got on at about, 12:30, 1 o'clock. I'm like, I wasn't stoked. I'm like, I'm happy to ride a 450. But then I got on this thing. I'm like, I cannot believe how good this bike is and how long this bike pulls. even though I rode this bike some in 2020, I kind of forgot. I got lost, and I'm guilty of it as well. Sometimes I forget how good things are. And this 250 is really good. If you like to rev your bike, if you like to leave it in gear, if you like to leave it in second gear out of corners and not shift, this thing will provide you with that with no problems. If you're lazy, if you're a vet guy, 450 is too much power. I mentioned this in the 450 episode. It's soft and linear and nice to ride, but if you want even a lighter feeling, a less aggressive feeling, but with a lot of room to be lazy, this KTM 250 SXF provides you with that. I'm 40 years old. I like to be lazy. I like to run third gear, but second gear is so long, I don't need to run third gear until I'm halfway down the straightaway, and then I can use it, right? So for me, it's an impressive feeling when I can just leave this sucker in second and let it rev and it keeps pulling. It's an amazing sight. I think most of the other manufacturers are trying to build their engines similar to KTM in the fact of how long the pulling power is. If you guys are on other colored 250Fs, imagine your bike on steroids that it just keeps pulling. This is what this KTM feels like. I think you and I even discussed, it feels like a miniature race bike out of the box.
I honestly, when I first got out there, I was thinking to myself, this is the fastest 250F I've ever ridden. It feels like any mod 250 I've ever ridden. Just the fact that you can leave it in second gear and you think that you're going to get to the rev limit, it's never there. I actually never found it today.
That's funny you say that, because your perception, your mind's going, okay, I need to shift. And the bike's going, nah, you're good for a little bit longer.
Good for a lot longer than expected.
Yeah. So motor is excellent. I love the chassis, the lightweight feel. Track was heavily broken when I rode this. Just like Kenny, it's a little soft for me. But overall, it doesn't do anything out of the ordinary. If I hit a bump in a different direction, it's fine. So something I noticed coming off from a 450 KTM on this bike, the 250, is how planted and how much it sticks to the ground. For example, a pretty big jump out of a corner, landing, sweeper, and then to another jump. What I love about this 250 SXF is on lean angle, under throttle, it never wants to feel like it's skated out. On the 450, I felt like it was a little bit loose, and I blamed it on the front tire, but I'm not a fan of the Dunlop MX-33 front tire, but for whatever reason, with this bike, this chassis, the way the power is delivered, it just stuck to the ground. So I don't know if you had that experience as well.
Yeah, I did actually. One thing that I noticed major is it settles really well into the turns, really good into the ruts. I didn't have any hesitation whatsoever. So if I landed a jump and had to go right into a rut, I could sit comfortably. I didn't have any front end push. It was perfect for me, and then it just drove right through the turn. So I totally agree. On the 450, similar. But I did have a little dance always, and even messing with settings, I still had a little bit of a dance and a little unsettled coming into some of the ruts. But on this thing, man, I felt like I maybe could have showed up and did something today.
Yeah, this is the problem. Okay, you get on one of these bikes that feels good, you feel like you can go race.
Yeah,
I know better. I've been there. It's not going to happen. But I understand what he's saying. You get that feeling of like, man, I really can rip on this thing, and this is what this bike does. The ECU. Okay, so the mapping has been changed by KTM and Austria for 2021. Unlike where I like a Map 1 feel on a KTM 450 SXF, I'm more of a Map 2 guy. Map 2 on the 250, a little bit harder hitting, a little bit has more excitement. Map 1 on this is a little bit longer. We talk about how long this thing pulls. It's even a little bit longer in Map 1. But to really get out of my corners, area 1 to area 2, I like to have some connectivity, some throttle response, and I was more of a Map 2 guy. Didn't try TC. Track was pretty good all day. I know some of you guys complain about that. How come you never tried TC? We have. Granted, it doesn't really work on a 250 for me. I think it belongs more in a 450, but Kenny, what do you think of the ECU mapping?
Yeah, I actually just ran Map 2 from the get-go, and I just fell in love with it. It's extremely responsive, snappy, and like we said, it never stops pulling. I didn't even go to Map 1, and TC, I actually do like TC on a 450. Being a little smaller stature, the Map 2 can be too much for me, so TC will kind of give me that even between the two. But on the 250F, man, Map 2 today was where it was at.
Yeah, this KTM, man, it's confidence inspiring. What I like to tell people, they always ask me, what bike do I need, Keefer? what you can expect. Let's say you're looking to buy a bike. You're an older guy. You want to be lazy. You don't want a lot of 450cc power underneath you. This bike's really fun. It helps you ride aggressive. If you're looking to be a little bit more aggressive of a rider, this type of bike rewards that. Granted, if you're super lazy, 200 and some pounds, and you want to run third gear, it's probably not the bike for you. Yamaha's a little bit better in that area. But man, if you want less power, a stable machine, and just a fun overall engine character, this 250 SXF is fun. I made a promise to some of you guys to ride the Kawasaki more. I'm going to make another promise. I need to ride this bike more as well because it's super fun. So Kenny and I are going to do this together.
Oh yeah, I'm ready right now. Let's go.
He has a 450 Husqvarna, and I'm like, you want to ride 250? He's like, yes. So this is how much fun this thing is. Thank you, KTM, for building it. You know what? KTM does a great job of pushing other manufacturers to get better. I mean, I tested for KTM in 2002 and 3, and it was not a fun job back then. It was horrible. Fast forward, how many years later? It's one of the best manufacturers out there as far as development and pushing the envelope to make dirt bikes better. So kudos to KTM out there, the R&D guys. Things I do not like, okay? It's not all peaches and cream over here. I don't like the handlebar. Lots of vibration, super stiff. Do not like a MX-33 front tire. This chassis and bars combined, they do vibrate a little bit. So if you're coming off of a Japanese model, you will notice a little bit more vibration up through the pegs and the handlebars. Not a huge fan of lock-on grips. I'm an old school guy. I like glue-on grips. So look, my list is short. It's not that major in the things I do not like, but I want to mention that stuff to you guys out there. Kenny, anything you don't like about this bike?
I agree with the bar. It's a little low for me. Makes me feel a bit tall. So personally, I'm a twin wall type guy, so I probably would try that first. Overall, though, yeah, the tire could be better. You could have a little more connectivity to the ground with maybe a different front tire. But overall, I'm a fan of the bike. The negatives are minimal.
Yeah, so I ran Kenny's settings on the suspension as well, so a little bit stiffer for me, less pitching. I like that. I'm 170 pounds, so I need to hold that suspension up a little bit. We will get to more settings soon and give you that information up on racerxonline.com shortly. If you guys have any questions, you can always hit me up, Kris@KeeferInkTesting.com. I'm an open book. Just calm down, though, when you email me. Relax, because I do have a lot of emails. Some of you guys get a little crazy and say ASAP, right now, hey, real quick. It doesn't work like that. Like, just relax. I'll get back to you. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to help. And, of course, want to see more videos, cool stuff? You want to see Justin Barcia slam Chase Sexton? Go to racerxonline.com, and you can check out all that stuff. And, of course, RacerX does have a publication. It's cool. I just wrote a story about Loretta Lynn's in the new issue. It's out right now. Go check it out. Kenny, thank you for helping us today. And you could be riding orange in 2021, maybe 250, 350?
Yeah, I'd like to do both, but I'll stay orange for sure.
All right, guys. See you on the next one.